Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and in my deep pursuit to talk with literally every single guitar player in the New York City and tri-state area, we got a real good one on with us today, and he's a legacy. I'm with Jimmy Leahey.
Oh my goodness!
Jimmy, yeah, hey. Everybody knows. A lot of people know Jimmy's dad, Harry. Jimmy started guitar at age 7. Like I said, his dad was Harry Leahy. His dad was a very successful jazz musician, and actually, he was a very, very popular teacher in the Jersey area. And I interviewed Jimmy Vivino last week. And Jimmy, did you guys ever connect?
Not yet. No, did you send him my number? Or?
Yeah, I did. I certainly right away.
I hope he calls. But,
yeah,
but it's all good though. But yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, but he was so appreciative of your dad, and he was like, "Oh my God, Harry changed my life," and because that was his second teacher, and he kind of maxed out on the first teacher, if I remember right. And he goes, "You got to go see Harry." It was like being in it was like the mob. Like, you need to see Harry. I was like, oh, the way he said it. Anyway, man.
So good.
Jimmy's love of all things guitar has led him to a wide spectrum of styles. From 1981 to the present, he's played locally in tons of Jersey and New York clubs, bars, and theaters with a wide range of musical acts, and you can catch him still playing around town when he's not touring. He's also toured with pretty big national acts, 12 years with John Waite from the Babies and Bad English, Glenn Burtnick, a great songwriter and former member of Styx, and currently Jimmy's on tour with Styx singer, pianist, songwriter Dennis DeYoung, and they're doing a national tour. His performances and reputation as a dependable sideman has landed him gigs with Patti Smyth from Scandal, Martha Davis from the Motels, Chris Cagle from CMT, Anna Nalick, solo artist. She did Breathe at 2 a.m. That's the song Breathe 2 a.m., right? Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Dion Farris from Arrested Development, Jill Rock Jones, Bad Boy South, Gloria Gaynor, Alison Krauss with Union Station. And man, if I looked like Jimmy, we'd probably be doing videos. He's a good-looking guy, so let's rip it, man. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I'm
2 coffees down, man. I started improving with caffeine, man.
That's good. Well, I'm right with you, bro. Man, you're currently touring with Dennis DeYoung. How'd you wind up getting that gig?
Man, that was a thrill meeting him. I mean, I was actually currently at that time out with John Waite, and we were touring. And the last few years, we wound up opening for Dennis, and that's how I met him. And we John and I did an acoustic duo before Dennis's band would come on, and we did 2 summers of that. And Dennis at the time was recording a record 100 years from now. I guess this is about in maybe 2005 or so. And so he liked my acoustic guitar playing, and he wanted me to play on his record. So he hired me to play on that record. That's how I was really introduced to him. So
very cool.
Yeah. A few years later, he gave me an offer.
An offer you couldn't refuse.
That's right.
Hey, when you play an acoustic, I just was wondering, it seems from the listener standpoint, like it's a much more vulnerable sort of deal than playing electric. Is that true or no? Not necessarily.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a lot more the character from what comes out. It's a little more natural to me, even though you're plugged in and it's a piezo pickup, but it has a wholesomeness a little bit to me. I've always loved the acoustic guitar. Actually, after graduation of high school, I got in an acoustic trio with some of my best and oldest friends. Mike DeCenzo and Matt Pisani, and I've known those guys since like 2nd grade. And we played an acoustic trio for 10 years out of high school. We did like a lot of the Eagles books and CSN and all that stuff. And
sure.
JT and so I really didn't pick up an electric until a bunch of years later.
Oh, that's interesting.
Most of the acoustic gigs,
Very cool,
so
man.
I love it still.
You got a bunch of stuff going on. We were just talking before the call started. What are you excited about that you're working on now?
Well, I've been writing and recording with an artist, Alice Leon, her name is. We've been in a band together for more than 10 years. I don't know exactly, but a band called the Alice Project, and we've had 5 records together. And we are recording another one, and it just keeps getting better, I think. So we're in the midst. We're a bunch of songs down, and we just have to get it all polished and put down and stuff. But so I'm excited about that.
Very cool. What kind of music is that?
Sure. She's like, I write the music, and she was the melody lyricist kind of a deal. And I would like say that she's a cross between like Carole King and Sheryl Crow.
Wow.
And kind of pop, that kind of stuff. She's a great songwriter, great lyricist, and an amazing person, and one of my best friends. And I play with her still, around the area occasionally, doing just a night of original music, so that's, I'm excited about that. I'm also recording with Dennis on his new record, I guess that maybe will be coming out hopefully next year, and so I'm 5 tracks into that and enjoying that. It's a thrill being playing, with Dennis DeYoung.
You playing acoustic or electric with that?
Both, yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, mostly electric, but I have some acoustic tracks as well on it so far. So
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Anything else? Just want to make sure I don't miss it.
That's about it. Otherwise, playing locally, I have a website in jimmyleahey.com. And as soon as I hang up with you, I'm going to go on and update my schedule. But I got a lot of local gigs around here. So if you're in the tri-state area, come out. I'm playing with a bunch of great people. This guy, Bob Berger, down the Jersey Shore area, who's a great songwriter. And he's written songs with Styx, actually, and a number of artists. And I play down the shore with him. And his bands usually has some great players like, Jerry Gaskell from King's X's.
Holy shit.
I know. It's like a thrill, He puts together really great bands, and, so come out to those shows. And I play with a great guy, like a jazz kind of R&B thing up in North Jersey, New York area, a guy named Greg Hollister. So it's a wide variety of stuff. I'm kind of trying to keep going. And so come out to the gigs.
Awesome. And then let me tell you, Jimmy's website, his last name is Leahy. It's Jimmy, Jimmy, Leahy, Leahey. And he does have a pretty good website. Right.
There's a good story about that. Maybe I should
go ahead. Tell it.
I want to badmouth somebody I don't know.
No, you could badmouth anybody.
Oh, yeah, okay. There's a guy named Jim Leahey in New Jersey who's like on Megan's sex offender list.
Oh, you kidding me?
Yeah, but it's spelled without that E. So that E is like the saving grace, but everybody forgets to put that E down. And I've gotten confronted like from people, and ironically, he's
God,
my height and blonde hair, and from a distance, we might be confused for each other.
Holy shit.
And my wife had the FBI actually come to the house. I was out on tour, and he went on the lam, and my wife had to explain that I'm the other Jim Leahey with the E,
Holy, well, dude, let me tell you. That is scary, but listen to this.
Go ahead.
There's a Craig Garber out there who, in somewhere in Tennessee, about 5 or 6 years ago, he murdered his wife and their 2 or 3 kids.
God, that's awful.
So I get a thing on Facebook. I mean, this is like maybe even 10 years ago on Facebook, and like someone's like, "You're a horrible, you asshole. How can you do that?" And I'm like,
what?
I mean, like. Did you really you're messaging the murderer? First of all, just think about it. You're messaging the murderer on Facebook. I mean, who needs help here? But, I mean, you got to get a fucking hobby or something, right? And I just said, ma'am, this is there's probably another guy named Craig Garber, but you could look at my photo. We look nothing alike. And I'm in Florida and he's in Tennessee. And oh, sorry. Yeah.
About mistaken identity.
Oh, sorry. And she went off on her way to probably, enter some contest and do something else productive with her time on fucking Facebook. Anyway, man. Yeah, that's nutty. Wow.
We'll try to stay out of jail, you and I.
Yeah, man, we will for sure. You started playing at a really young age, and I was curious, what did you start playing, and did your musical taste change over the years? And you're so diverse, but is there something you like to play most?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess so. I mean, I started, almost don't remember starting. I mean, it feels like I've always been playing, but I was 7 years old. On my 7th birthday, my father gave me like a little nylon string, student, like 3/4 guitar. And I was just at that time, my father being such an amazing guitar player, and that the whole scene around my house. I mean, everybody loved him, and he was this guy on his pedestal, and an amazing musician. And I loved, him, and his playing. Like first, he was my first, introduction to the guitar, and what better model,
Oh my God! Yeah, what a special thing. I mean, when you have kids, you do things with them, but to share music, which is such an intimate, that's got to be amazing.
Yeah, and he was my teacher. So he just started me, and he was a very kind of strict teacher in a way that he was like very methodical, and it was like the 3 R's. It was like scales, chords, and reading, like and not like songs. It would be like exercises, So and I really kind of took to it early on, and was a really, I think, good student for a few years, and then I got other interests, and I was probably his worst student for a bunch of years. but I always played and I always loved it. And, so I was playing songs really super young. And my older sister, Debbie, was a big influence on me because she also played guitar and flute and sang really well. And we started playing and singing together when we were like, 8 or 9 years old, and we have like cassette tapes of it. And, we sound, you can't tell who's the guy and who's the girl,
Well, at that age, sure.
But it's, so I've always loved playing, and it's just a passion, even when I wasn't practicing hard enough. I think, it was still, I played all day and just played what I wanted to more than what I should have. But, that's pretty much, the start of it for me,
What was it? What genre were you playing as a kid mostly?
I mean, I think, I was playing kind of the popular songs on the radio. My father would have a fake book, and so it would be like, Beatles songs and things like that. So I was playing and just banging through open chords and on that stuff. So we would just play whatever was kind of popular at the time on the radio and stuff. And then my interest kind of changed when I got into high school. I really started taking to the instrument again, like seriously, when I was like 14 years old, and it was the passion for studying came back, and I studied really a lot of, did a lot of reading, and got into classical, and I started playing classical gigs really early with my uncle on my mother's side, who's a phenomenal classical guitar player.
Wow. So you got it on both sides.
Yeah.
Wow.
My mother's side is actually the more talented, the more broad music background. And my father was this strange entity in his family of non-musical people, and he was the best out of them all, oddly, but yeah. So, I got into classical guitar around 14, and just I started burying my head into reading and classical, and then I'd have gigs, and I'd suffer through songs that I couldn't that were over my head, and so it was always a push. And then after that, I fell in love with Pat Metheny, and I got into because my dad being a jazz guy, jazz was always there for me. I always loved the music my father played, which is like kind of that, late 50s, early 60s bebop, jazz and jazz standards and things like that. So all along I was listening to that. I had no choice because it was in my house. But I got into Pat Metheny and all those guitar players like Mike Stern and Alan Holdsworth, and then towards the end of like my high school year, I got in a rock band, and that's when I started learning like Zeppelin and all that heavier bands, and so I was like a late bloomer into some of that stuff, But
it sounds like you really touched. I mean, to be 14 and doing classical, that's a pretty serious commitment.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been already reading music for 7 years, so
it's amazing.
It's like a lot. Yeah, it's kind of I suffered through all those Mel Bay songs, and Hans Sitt books. My father was really into like violin etudes and and the Bach sonatas and partitas and stuff. So it was like that was a great thing to have under my belt at a young age. I think it's helped me a lot, and for studio work and things like that, being able to read is a plus.
Oh yeah. Yeah. In fact, that's one of the, if I ask players that are like in our age bracket, What's one thing that, you might have done differently, and I wish I could read better, or that's pretty much the number one, when it comes to music, not personal stuff, but when it comes to music, that's always, one of the top answers. So I could see what an advantage that was.
Yeah, it's a leg up, like I remember I toured in Ireland for a few years with a blues band, but I bought like a Celtic book of, like reels and things like that. And it's just a leg up being able to sit and play through it and listen to what it is, right off the bat without, this is, I guess, before YouTube. It's a lot easier now than it was. But
when were you touring Ireland?
This was like probably right around the year 2000, maybe 2000. Oh no, it was before. I don't even know. Maybe I guess it was the late 90s. I guess I did a tour over there with this guy named Tom McHugh, who's like in Maryland, and he's in a blues band. And I got into that band through my uncle on my mother's side, who's an upright bass player and a jazz bass player. It was my father's best friend, and they hired me to go, and I was part of this thing that went every September for like 10 or 12 days. It was set up by the Chamber of Commerce, and they would like give you a van, and your band would have that van that you drove around, and they give you another guy in another van with a PA system, and it was all paid for by the Chamber of Commerce or whatever.
Yeah.
In Ireland, and we would just go around and play gigs, and whatever gigs we could pick up, we would play, and it was a thrill.
That's right. Did you ever meet a guy over there? Do you know Anto Drennan?
I don't know.
I'm just curious. He's an Irish, great Irish guitar player. He's, session guy. He's played with Mike and the Mechanics, Genesis.
Anto, what's the last?
Anto Drennan, Drennan. I interviewed him. He's a lovely guy, man. He's got so many stories. I mean, this.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, let me just. Yeah, man. I'll just tell you this one story he told about Garry Moore. So. He had met Garry years ago, and then he's playing a gig one night, and they're both on the bill. And so he's up in the dressing room, and he thought it was his dressing room. And he's eating some chips there, and all of a sudden he hears a toilet flush. and Garry Moore walks out, and now, so Anto had known Garry, and he says he's before gigs especially, he's just an antsy, anxious guy, and not really easy to get along with at times, just right before the gigs. And he said, so he knew better. He was just like, he goes, "Oh, hey, Garry." And Garry Moore says, "Who the fuck are you?" and then before he even has a chance to answer, he goes, "Are you eating my fucking crisps?" Because they call chips, potato chips there. And so that was just like, it was this moment it was like, what the hell do you do there? It's like, there's no winning. There's only degrees of loss, no matter.
Off the wrong foot here.
Yeah. That's a great Garry Moore story. Anyway, yeah, I would check him out. He's a real good player. What are the top, like maybe 2 or 3 things your dad taught you? Not necessarily about playing, although it can be playing, either about playing, performing, or the actual business itself, the 2 or 3 most valuable lessons.
Yeah, that's a funny question, because my father was the worst businessman ever. He had like one amp and one guitar, and the amp the reverb didn't work, and he was it was like, so I may have upped him on that one and stuff, but he musically and like and personally, I mean, I think, personally, he taught me like patience, and he was a super calm guy, and it was different, it's kind of difficult, I think, or known to be difficult to study with the parent, you know what I mean? And,
yeah.
I studied with him for like 14 years, so he was just calm, and he never got excited. Even when I was like a horrible student, he would just be like, "All right, just do it again, keep working on it." And he was so real supportive, and then I walk out and my mother would be just like, "How was his lesson?" And to stop wasting your father's time. My mother was like the kick in my butt, God bless her for that, anyway, so he taught me patience and because it certainly, being a guitar player, if you add too much weight to it, I think, especially early on, you'll get frustrated and you'll give up, so he was that to me, and it's a great guy, and inspirational just to listen to. So I'd listen to him, and it was an education and soloing, and his chord and harmony work was just like, so like, I still can't fathom like how he would put things together, although, and and I've studied a lot with him, and I think the chord aspect of playing, he really excelled, and I got that. I think from him, I owe him that. So anyway, yeah, that's it.
You ever go back? You ever look on YouTube videos? There's not a lot of videos of your dad, but there's some. You ever go see some of those and like look what he's doing?
Yeah, nobody had videos back then, and so there are very few. And and I have tons of audio of him. So it's people just I always run into them, but the videos are great to watch, and we miss them, and as a lot of people do, because he was inspiration to a lot of not just our family, but to a lot of people, and but he taught at like a couple of universities, so we had like constant. He taught probably about 90 to 100 students a week.
Holy crap!
I know, and then he would
wow.
go out and play gigs. He never toured much. He was not really into touring. And when he finally did go out and tour, we had my mother got sick, and he wound up coming back from that. So he toured only a while, but mostly played around here and inspired guitar players. And so I've gotten totally off track, haven't I?
No, it's totally cool, man. Just be you.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of different projects. Is there a way for you to maybe pick like top 3?
Oh my goodness. I mean, certainly playing with John Waite and Dennis DeYoung have been just like, it's just the obvious answers. I mean, it's just over the top and a thrill, the touring experience has been great. I've really enjoyed it. I've got a really understanding wife, but, just playing, not playing in the same 4 walls, it's really been great. And the experience of playing on a stage and playing those songs that were so important to me growing up, so that was pretty awesome. I played some really fun. This is probably my favorite gig of all time was with this song, that guy Bob Berger I was talking to you about. And we played a Labor Day party for John Bon Jovi out at his place in East Hampton, and so you're like the house band, and John makes it known that this person's coming. So we knew Billy Joel was coming, and there was a list of people. We had to learn some songs, like Roger Waters was coming. So
holy shit!
I know this is like, so it's all kind of an all-star cast of people like Jimmy Buffett and things like that. And so we were learning Cheeseburger in Paradise and
what did you learn? What Roger Waters song did you learn? Because those aren't like.
We did "Wish You Were Here" with Roger Waters.
Okay, great.
It's like pretty awesome. That, play that alongside. But this is kind of how it turned out. So we get there and we're setting up our stuff, and then John Bon Jovi comes out and he goes like, I'm not sure. I invited Paul McCartney, but I don't know if he's going to show up or not. And so we're up there playing for his guests, and the guests out in the audience are like Howard Stern and the Governor Corzine of New Jersey at the time. This is going back now, but so all-star cast of people out in the audience. And then all of a sudden, like we're playing and Paul McCartney runs up right at me and jumps on the stage right next to me. And it was like Paul McCartney's here,
That's
and
nuts,
so
man.
We've been, jamming with Billy Joel and Roger Waters. All these guys are on stage with us, and they just started doing like the backyard jam, and they were going like, what do you want to play? And they're just going around the stage, and they're like, Billy, let's do one of your songs. And Billy's like, I don't want to do one of my songs. Let's do Take It Easy by the Eagles. And we're like playing Take It Easy by the Eagles with Billy Joel and, and all these guys on stage. And Roger Waters is like, looking at me because he's playing guitar next to me, not bass. And he's like, I don't know this song. So I'm like yelling chords to Roger Waters. It was like a backyard, just throw down jam, So, and when we left, it was just we were pinching ourselves, we got to play like 6 songs with Paul McCartney. And so that was probably the highlight of my life.
God, that's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
It's like, it's beyond crazy, man. That is so cool. A few questions in your answer. Just question of what did you get a chance to talk with Waters?
No, actually, like it was, we were on stage. We were like the house band, so they kind of, got off stage we kept playing, and then they all dispersed. We didn't talk to anybody really, except for Paul McCartney came back and talked to us all, which was like, that was really cool. So like of all the people on that stage, a Beatle comes back and said, "Oh, you guys did a good job," and he was talking with us all and was really complimentary. Everybody else disappeared, So
do you how do you catch, like, what do you say to Paul? Was it weird? I was like, I had like a kind of an anxiety a little bit, it was just like, I was such a Beatle fan growing up, and I've been around, at that point I had been playing and been around people and opened up for, playing with John Waite and Dennis DeYoung, you're always opening for acts, from that era, which is like so a lot of people I looked up to, and you're not so, I guess, a star, you don't get really as starstruck. I mean, sure.
It's still a thrill, but it's not like, like you can't keep your composure, But so when he came on stage, it was like, everybody, but it was weird. He was like, this thing in the room that walked around, and everybody was just like, we're keeping it, watching him,
It's like the new puppy.
Who invited that guy?
Wow. Yeah.
Ruining the party.
Well, you know what? I understand what you mean. Cause like I've had a lot of guys on the show that I really love. They're playing for years and years. I'm not someone that gets starstruck, but when I had, do you remember Zebra?
Yes, I do.
So I had Randy
Jackson, man.
And I had Randy on the show. It was weird because I had listened to their first album, honestly, man, maybe like 100 times. And so like his music was very much a part of me that, that was weird. So I kind of I'm like not, I like the Beatles, but I've never been crazy about them like most people are. So I could totally see that. It's not a starstruck thing. It's just like, holy shit, how is this even working here? How is this even possible? When your music is, what's that?
Fun gig, right? You have a fun gig, man.
it was just like, wow, how the hell am I talking to Randy Jackson? I've heard him sing, 100 times the whole, that. Anyway, it was, I totally get it, man.
Right, and he still plays around this area.
Yeah, he does. He does. And you mentioned your wife. You guys been together a long time too, right?
28 years.
Dude, congratulations. Awesome. Very good.
It's a miracle.
It is. Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I'm in the same situation. It's
she's she's changed my whole, trajectory really. And it's been amazing, she's a very supportive and we work really well together. And she got the worst end of the deal for sure.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my wife. Same thing. That's good, man. Congratulations. I'm happy to hear that.
Thanks.
Were there any, like, because your dad wasn't a particularly good businessman, were there any business things that once you got in the industry that were kind of surprising to you?
Yeah,
because I know it's a real good industry where nobody gets taken advantage of or anything like that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, certainly like how much people were getting paid. It was like, it's like, okay, so if I play every night for $100, I'll make like 36.5, at the end of the year if I play every night. That's like that's a stark reality when you're in the bar scene, and trying to make money, money doing this on a more casual basis, So
sure,
so the business end of it, and I've been really fortunate to be around really great people, and so I haven't had too many bad experiences. In the business end of things, it's kind of, been cut and dry with me. And like John Waite was, was always treating me well. And Dennis is like exceptionally good to all of us. And, so it hasn't been really a bad experience,
Great.
Overall. So I've been really fortunate about that.
Great.
But it is a juggle, income wise. And I worked 15 years at Rutgers University as a more like like blue collar, like, like maintenance and construction kind of stuff,
While you were getting the music, while you were getting your career together?
I was always playing, and I was even touring. When you have a state job, it's like they give you 1 million days off and moderate pay.
Oh, yeah.
So I was touring with John at the time, teaching, playing local gigs, and working a 45-hour a week day job, and it was nuts. And I eventually, like, my candle went out, and I started, like, falling asleep behind the wheel of the car, like during the day and stuff, And so I had something had to go, and my wife was and I sat down and talked about it, and we agreed, and she really pushed it like that. Music was really, my thing, and I should quit my day job. How about that? That's a wacky wife right there.
What? So let me ask you this: once you did that, all right, because you were doing basically the thing that makes you happiest.
Yeah.
What happened? Like, how did you feel? How did work come in? Did like suddenly the vacuum that was that job get sucked up by work, by music work?
Yeah, this is the weird thing about it, because I've, being of Irish descent, I've been so lucky, but don't, get me in a casino and I'll lose everything quick.
You're the cooler.
But yeah, exactly. But I quit my job in January, and I'd been touring with John at the time, but it was sporadic. He wasn't touring a lot. He was living in New York, and he was kind of migrating to California at the time. So he was kind of playing like 25 gigs to maybe between 25 and somewhere around that a year. So, I quit in January, and in March, I think, or a few months later, John had a new record that came out, and they had this big giant national tour put together. So I went really from 2 months without my day job to touring 3,000 miles in a minivan with John Waite and just playing every day, and it was all of a sudden it was we didn't lose a step. It was a total freakish lucky thing, it's just a blessing from above, or whatever, whatever it is. I didn't really have and it's been busy since then, really. So,
I don't know how these things work, and I don't ever pretend that I will know, but I often see it's in people in general, when you sort of do what inherent, what really makes you happy, and it's for the love of that. This is not uncommon.
I'll take whatever it is, but
right. I mean, it's just really weird. I've experienced stuff like that at the same time. And so it's I think there's something to be said about the universe wants you to be happy.
Yeah, I think if it comes out of your energy. If your heart and your head are together in this thing, it creates an aura. I feel that on stage, and it's not just because of me. It's collectively with a band when everything sounds right and the band is playing and you're in your ears, it sounds like one unit, and everybody's 25% or whatever, however, of what's happening and make something really good. That transports to the audience. And when the audience, that energy comes back to you, it's euphoric. That's why I've always done this. Even as a kid performing, people like to get entertained, and there's an energy about that, I think.
Yes.
So if you're the entertainer, there's the concentration and the love, and for the listener, it's just it's the appreciation that someone's standing up there and doing it. It doesn't even have to be perfect, but it's
Yeah, I think that it's most important is the energy transfer. If there's got to be an energy transfer from the performer to the audience.
Yeah.
And when that's a good energy and it's a high energy transfer, it's almost impossible to have a bad night, from the audience perspective. I mean, you may hit some clams and be rough on yourself, but no one else, like you said, is noticing that stuff.
Yeah. People are forgiving and stuff, for sure.
Yeah, and who's listening? I mean, what if you're the asshole that goes and says, "Oh, I'm going to figure out the mistake. I know I'm going to nail Jimmy." Okay, I mean, most people are going to have a good time, So if that's your deal, you got other issues, man. But
we're lucky that everybody's not a guitar
player. Have you ever had any? Tuition, we all pay tuition, make mistakes. What are maybe one or two mistakes you might have made early on in your career, and what were the lessons you learned from them?
Let's see. There's probably 2 points that stick out. I mean, first of all, those years, probably from 9 to 14, that I wasted a lot of time, Oh
my God. Listen, I'm going to you should play this back for 9 to 14. I wasted a lot of time. Oh my God. That's Oh
That's
my
stupid.
God. That's a little, you're being a little unforgiving of yourself, Jimmy. I have to tell you. Between 9 and 14, dude, 9 and 14, most people are just starting to have wet dreams. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that worked for me too. Yeah, but I just kind of, I feel like I was into it, but I was just like not studying like I probably should have, I guess, that's, one regret. If I had that, I regret that I didn't go to college for music. But at the time, my parents both passed really young, and they had illnesses like at young ages, and so they were financially like ruined, like young, because they had no medical benefits
Sure.
at the time, and so when it came for me to go to college, and my father's like, "You want to go to college?" And I was like, "No," and he goes, "Okay, great."
Yeah, but you would have gone to college for music. Didn't you, in a sense, have like a degree already from your dad?
That's the thing. I mean, I've had this guy who taught in colleges teaching me since, I was 7 years old. So like I had a lot of things together, but you're still like a young human being and green around the gills but I had a lot of information, that tons of information. Matter of fact, too much information, like, where you're trying to sift through like a sea of stuff. And then a guy, one of my treasured friends, Anthony Kryzan, I don't know if you know who he is. He's like a Jersey guy. He played with Spin Doctors for a short, one of their records. We went to high school together, and we were in bands together out of high school. And, and I had been studying jazz and classical all this time and everything. And in walks Anthony Kryzan, and he's like, I don't know, I don't want to say he wasn't like, he knew some pentatonic scales. We were young, but he didn't really have information and know what to do with everything. Maybe I don't. This is coming off way wrong.
No. You're just saying that he was normal and you were like so advanced. Is the reality of it?
Yeah, when it came down to playing the blues, then you suddenly realize, wow, like I'm missing like the whole thing. You know what I mean? So he was the guy that really got me into like, man, like one pentatonic scale, like he never left that, and it's poetic, and like so it's like a shift in gear suddenly that like I got to stop thinking about like all this so complicated, and start to sift through what's right, and it's not what like how much it's just like what's right. You have to kind of be true to a song, and he was the guy that got me to see that, right out of high school, and so he was a blessing to me. I've been like people have just fell in front of me that I owe everything, and it's not just one, so I guess that's maybe everybody's story too. But I just like it, have such amazing love for 10 people that fell before me that changed my whole view and made me better. And I'm a product of the people I was around, really,
Sure.
So,
well, thanks for sharing all that. I mean, I'm really sorry about your folks too, man.
Yeah. I have friends that are dealing with parents who don't recognize them now, so there's it's no good time for this, so but we always, knew them young, and I guess that's something that's maybe a pro, they were young, young spirits when they pass, but,
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, this is not a comparison, but like we lost a couple of our pets this year, and when I think back on them, it's much harder for me to remember the early days. When I just remember the last, bit where they were like really feeble, and I have to really dig hard to think of those other times. It's really weird. I don't know why, because I got pictures, and I don't know why that works. So memory works like that.
Yeah, it was hard, like it was a hard time for me and my family. We were like young. I was older, and I have an older sister, Debbie, but we have a brother and sister that were 7 and 8 years younger than ourselves.
Oh, wow.
And they were super young. So it was really, a tough time to lose parents. So, they died within 3 years of each other. They both had, cancer, but, so it was like really difficult, to kind of for everybody to kind of find their way after that, but everybody's doing good. And you put it in perspective, and life is, it's not perfect, but if you have that expectation, then you can get through anything, so, so we miss them, but we're, they're part of them is with us, I think, for sure.
Are you guys all live close to each other in Jersey?
Too, yeah. They're like,
that's cool.
I live on the western part of Jersey now. We're all from North Plainfield, the Plainfield area, which is not far from like Union and Newark and that area. But I live out West Jersey, and most of my sisters live in like the Easton area, Pennsylvania. So we're pretty close.
Oh, that's not far.
My brother's also in Jersey too. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
very good.
They all play. They're all musicians, and all my cousins are musicians. My cousin had the drum spot with Dennis for a couple of years. Dave Anthony.
Oh my God, how funny is that?
Yeah, it's just his dad was the guy I went to Ireland with, who played upright bass. It's just like there's like a whole like sea of amazing musicians in my family, so we're kind of a dime a dozen.
That's great. Do you guys all do Christmas together and bust out the instruments?
Yeah, absolutely do.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, so we have a jam session, definitely, and we also my father. This is something I could push up. There's no date set yet, but we've been doing it for the last 5 years. My father taught at William Patterson University. Now it is, and there's a scholarship in his name there, and
that's great.
And every year we do like a kind of a fundraiser. It's just an open mic jam session. You can play whatever you want. It doesn't have to be jazz, but for the past like 5 years, we've had like 200 or more people, and we've raised money that goes to a first year student, at William Patterson. So his scholarship's still going on, and so it's it's a family affair, for sure.
That's really cool. Where can people find information about that online? Because I bet you some people are going to want to come by. Yes,
they could either check my website; it'll go up there when the date's set, or you can probably find it on William Patterson on their website there. And
awesome.
Under the scholarships, and they'll probably announce it there and advertise it as well.
That's great.
So it'll probably be after the new year, this year.
Very cool. So, and again, Jimmy's dad is named Harry Leahy, Leahy.
Yes.
Let's talk about guitars for a little bit and music. Who's your favorite guitar player, man?
Oh man, that's really super hard. You know what I mean? Because I've never zeroed in on any one style. So like I have so many like guitar players that have influenced me really. So, but my father being obviously my first like love as a guitar player. But
sure.
I really delved into Pat Metheny. I would say that he was on my playlist like the longest. I was really into that like early Pat Metheny. Not when he was like sounding like a Turkish horn and stuff so much.
A Turkish horn. Early Pat Metheny. All right.
Yeah. So I wore those records thin, and so I mean, I could maybe say he was,
And as far as gear goes, I know we mentioned gear earlier. What's your like go-to guitar? Not for studio, just the one you like playing the most. And what other two guitars would round out your top three?
Yeah, when I'm home, I'm grabbing acoustic always, and I got some Taylor guitars. I had a deal with Taylor for a while, and got a bunch of great guitars through them, thanks to some great people there and stuff.
Wait a minute, you're out with Dennis DeYoung. Taylor, what is up, man? If somebody from Taylor's listening, you're like missing the boat. You got Jimmy Leahey promoting his number one acoustic, man. You guys need to get back on the Jimmy train.
I got a lot of their electric guitars, which I loved. They had those solid body series that came out, and I got 3 of those guitars. I still have them, and they're beautiful. And one of them's on tour with Dennis, and it's like and it's just a great electric guitar. It looks Tim Godwin and all those people there, and Robin and Taylor, thank you. They've been great to me all these years. So that's probably my go-to guitar at home. I just pick up my Taylor 615 and play the big jumbo guitar. It's always lay out of the case at my house. And as far as electrics are concerned, my gosh, it's hard. It depends on what I'm playing because I do so many different styles of music. So
just forget about just the ones you like. Now, just go by what you like.
My favorite guitar that I own is a handmade guitar. It's called a Kuntz, and you can find him in tabletop books. And he was a local guitar maker here, and he made probably about 250 guitars before his untimely death. But they're pieces of artwork, and they're beautiful, and they're I've been offered a lot of money for them recently. They're, for mine anyway, but they recently had an auction of some of them, and they were going for, between like 20 and 40 grand,
Holy
some
shit.
of them,
he was a local dude in Jersey.
Elizabeth. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, man. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I also want to ask you about that. Is that like a 335 12 string in the back there? What is that?
Oh, yeah, it is. That's a Yamaha.
Oh.
It's like a 70s, man, that thing. But
wow. Okay. So this Koons, spell that.
K-O-O-N-T-Z.
Okay. So it looks like a 335 with some, what kind of pickups are those?
Dude, these are like Bill Lawrence pickups, I think, but they got like all these coil splits. It's got a parametric EQ built into it.
Holy shit. Yeah. Like so let me describe this. There's like, is that a volume knob right there?
It's a master volume.
Yeah. Okay. So you got a master volume knob on the bottom, on the top.
Tricked out.
You got two individual volume and two tones. Then there's the switch for the pickups, but then there's like two other. Dude, I couldn't. That's like a fucking rocket ship. I couldn't. That would go overload in my head. I couldn't figure.
It caught on fire actually once because we had too much battery power in it. And stuff.
Oh my god! It's a beautiful. The guitar itself is really pretty looking. I like that.
Thanks, man.
It's really quilted. It looks great.
Oh yeah, it's a piece of artwork. It was my graduation present from my father on top of it. So it means like everything to me.
Oh yeah. Very cool.
There's a great story about that guitar. I'll have to tell you.
Yeah, tell it.
So when I went to go, it was my graduation, so it was 1981. I'll just put it out there now. But
81, you graduated high school?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
yeah,
well, it's that exact same age. Yeah.
Oh yeah, awesome, man! Congratulations.
Awesome, sort of.
We get the Denny Senior menu.
You know what, man? I'll be 55 in November, and I've never been anybody that's like bugged at age, but like 55 just sounds like.
Yeah, because in the round off world, they can round us off to 60 now, right? And
I'm not even going there. I'm just like I'm not even jumping ahead. Please, I'm just dealing with the 55. It just like sounds like really old. I don't know why. I've never been, and I'm in great shape, and so I don't feel like I'm like I look at Facebook and I say, man, I don't look like most of the people I went to high school with. So thank God. But you're in great shape too. I'm sure you do the same thing.
Man, there's some I don't bounce back after a night of drinking as good. But,
I can't go there, man. I just
a few aches and pains, but not too bad though for my age.
But I don't know. It's always been weird for me. Anyway, go ahead. So you graduated 81.
So this story, so that guitar in 81 was like $1,800, which was like a lot. It was a lot of money for my parents,
that's a lot
especially because they had no money. So like my parents, put like $1,800 in an envelope, and we all got in a car, and then like we're going to drive from like Plainfield to Elizabeth, and my parents stop and like being the health nut they stopped to get cigarettes and coffee, and my mother went in and got back. We drove all the way to Elizabeth, and the money envelope's gone. So like it's it's like $1,800 like, and it's gone, and like my father's like flipping out. He's like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe it. You lost the money. And so we drove back and we went and parked. It was like this really horrible, like, convenience store in the worst area of town in Plainfield. And we pulled back up to it, and the envelope's laying in the road.
Oh my.
So we opened the door. When she got out, it had dropped into the curb. And we drove all the way to Elizabeth, which is, like I said, maybe about a half hour, 35 minutes, all the way back. And it was still laying in the road. We picked it up, and I went and got that guitar.
Wow, that's nuts. That's some higher power shit, because that's not like.
Is that crazy? That's a true, honest to God, true story.
Oh my, that is nutty, man. Wow.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I have a similar. Actually, I don't know why we have similar stories, but one time I went to the I went to the mall or something, and I don't usually do that. And I guess I had my wallet, but I didn't have pockets and shorts. It's like old gym shorts probably. And I get out of the car and I'm like, oh my God, I can't find my wallet. And I think I was driving maybe an Explorer. I go to the back to open the hatchback to get the groceries, and my wallet's on the on the bumper there.
On the bumper.
Like I drove home and it was still there.
Wow. Yeah, right. What are the chances?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's like, come on, man. Somebody's looking like, it's like with that envelope, especially in a bad area. Cause I grew up in the Bronx,
New York, right?
Yeah, I'm from the Bronx. Everybody's got their eyes open.
They're like that,
Yeah. You're looking around all the time, man. You're noticing stuff like that all the time. So for that still to be there, it's like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah.
It's a lottery.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what a great story, man. And you have your guitar, and here you are a couple of years later, and you still have it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Taylor would be first, Koontz would be second. What would be your third?
My goodness, let me think here. Like I just recently got a Fano from a company in, you ever hear of Fano?
I have. Italian? Are there Italian guitars?
No, they're out of Arizona, actually.
I don't know them.
And they're really great guitar. A lot of people are using them. You see the Guitar Fair on Saturday Night Live has one. If you look at their artist list, it's pretty great. I just did a video for them on YouTube as well for their kindness, because they with a guitar. And I use it on Dennis's. I've been using it on Dennis's stage, and then I was just like, I want to bring it home. So I actually have it home. You want to see that?
Yeah, let me see that, man. Yeah, for sure. I hope it doesn't have as many buttons, man. That other one, that was like stepping in a cockpit for me, man.
I know. So,
cool. It's like what they made. It's an SG with a racing stripe. Is that P90s?
These are P90s. Yeah, these are really killer P90s.
Yeah.
They're
beautiful blue, man. I've not seen an SG
stock and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Very much looking, So it's kind of like Chevy blue with a racing stripe on it, right?
Yeah, Gibson made I forgot what it was called. It was an SG with a racing stripe. It wasn't a racing stripe like that. It was a racing stripe down the middle. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes, I do. I remember that.
It was the one, and it wasn't very popular. It was a very heavy guitar.
Yeah.
So a lot of people
do remember that.
Yeah,
guitar.
That's a beautiful guitar, man.
Thanks. It plays so amazing, and there are Lawler pickups in it, which are just really great. And those guitars are made by one guitar. Like one guy makes every guitar there, so it's from the beginning to the end. One guy builds it. They have like 8 guitar makers there, so they or somewhere around that. And so each one is individual, kind of.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, and so it's really personal to them. They do it right from the beginning to the setup, and so you get it feels like you got a guitar that a lot of attention was put into it.
It's also good from a marketing standpoint, because if you get one of those and you like it, you're going to call back and say, "Hey, I want Bob or or Jimmy or whoever did the. Make sure this. No, seriously, make sure the same guy. So it's like it's really smart.
Yeah, for sure. For cool. Guitar Center. I mean, are they still open? I'm not sure, but the Guitar Center recently has a deal with them, so I think they're going to start showing up in Guitar Centers as well. I think I saw on Facebook and stuff.
Dude, I'm going to call them and see if they want to advertise on my show. Actually.
Oh, dude, there's. Chad, I can give you contact numbers if you want, man. They're super great people. This guy Jack Schwartz owns the company. Mark Blythe and Chad. I'm spacing out on his last name like right now because it's just like an over 50 thing. And, but it's like,
well, now you got an excuse to space out. That's the over 50 thing.
Dude, look at me. I got a gray snout.
Does your wife? My wife tells me this is kind of disturbing. She goes, Craig, you repeat stuff now. I'm like, fuck, don't tell me that, because I always you can always tell when someone's like, quote, old because they're repeating shit. And I'm like, no, that's not. I said, no, I'm not doing it. I haven't agreed to that yet. I don't know if you hear that from your wife, but that disturbed me a little bit.
I'm getting weirder as it goes along. I'm pretty aware of that, I think. But,
Well, I always just tell my wife, like, well, baby, because she's like hard of hearing in one ear. And I'm like, I have to say it twice because I know you didn't hear it the first time. So I can put that off on her. It's not my fault.
Right.
Who name some guitar players you've jammed with and that you really enjoy jamming with. And is there a couple of guys out there that you'd like to jam with?
Oh, man. Well, I met you through Jason Lachlan,
yeah.
And he's amazing guitar player. I've gotten to play with him, and when you play with a guitar player who just kind of I'm a big fan of his playing. I think he's super musical, and so I've been doing gigs with him. We've done some things outside. We play at like a rock church together, but we've also done some stuff with this with an artist, this guy Norbert Leo Butts, who's like an actor, kind of Broadway guy and songwriter, and we've been involved in his projects and gotten to play with each other then, and it's just always a great experience. It's always like well thought out, and for some reason we just play well off of each other.
That's cool, man.
Sometimes it's just a I don't know if it's just the way you think. It's just everything just fits without effort,
Sure.
You know? And then, another guy, Dennis's other guitar player, August Zadra. I don't know if you know who he is.
No.
I have to connect you to him. He's been an inspiration to me and a joy to watch on stage. And so these are guys I already play with, so it's not fair to but there's I'm trying to think.
Do you ever gig with Jason in the city?
We've done some stuff with Norbert in the city before together, but we don't play a lot together enough anyway. But I've played at that place Skinny Dennis in
Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn,
yeah.
There and that was a lot of fun. Of course, just no rehearsal, you just show up and it's like a quick songs and you just put your head down and go. But it's just he's just smart. He's a smart guy, man. He knows like so much, and he's young, man. He's
Jason,
younger.
And you know what? He undersells himself a lot, man.
Yeah, he's humble too.
Yeah, he really undersells himself a lot.
And guys like August Zadra are the same way. Like my friend Anthony, like growing up, these are all humble dudes that are just as happy to see you excel, as themselves. You know what I mean? And that's like you can't ask for better friends in music, and especially guitar players that have that attitude. Because it can be competitive. It shouldn't be competitive, but it can be, and that's super unfortunate. So it's those players that are just into the joy of making something sound good, not making themselves look good, or it's those are the players to be with, man. And I've got a list of them, maybe, but Bob Berger is another guitar player, that I play with a lot, and it's just weird. We have the same sense of arrangement somehow, and so we take off a song that you never played together, and it's like you end the same time, and
that's awesome, man.
So it's just so locally, those are kind of some of my favorites,
Very cool. I'll be in the city towards the end of the year. I'll look around and see if you guys are playing. I'll come check you guys out. That would be awesome.
So definitely, look us up. And
I'm going to. I know so many guys I've interviewed up there now, so I got to at least see somebody playing one night. My luck, it'll be everybody's playing Monday that week or something like that instead of the weekend. Best guitar and best amp you've ever owned.
Wow, yeah, that's tough, too. Again, I got 16 amps, and I'm not going to say how many guitars in case my wife listens to this.
That's great. No, but honey, I had to get them because some of them were broken. It was a special gig, and look, I only had one shot to do this, and I wanted to do it right, and they paid well, and it covered the cost of the guitar almost, and
Yeah, probably my favorite guitar amp that stands out. I have this I'm going to say it's like a 65 Reverber Rocket, Ampeg Reverber Rocket. It's this little 112 amp with it's got tremolo on it, and it's just super old and in perfect shape. And it was that was the amp of in that time period that was in most of the studio. It was I think it was the first amp that had a reverb tank inside it.
Really?
Built in. Yeah, that's what I was told.
Very cool.
So it was just and it was in a lot of the studios. So a lot of these great songs that you heard, that was the studio amp that people used. And it's just so beautiful and warm. Everything comes out sounding just beautiful. That's probably and I don't take it out and play out with it much because it's, but
it's a 65, man. You can't do that. It's just dangerous. It's playing with fire. And
exactly.
What's your favorite guitar?
Probably that Kunz, obviously, but the, I don't know. I mean, it's really I have some great guitars. I have a, beautiful Les Paul. I love playing, it all depends on the music. I'm always grabbing guitars for the gig it is,
Yeah.
So it's hard to narrow it down to a favorite guitar, but I like a guitar that's versatile. I got this really cheap ass telly. It's like, I think it was a Mexican telly I bought, and it has like humbuckers in it with coil splits, and I took that neck off and I threw my like a standard neck on it and everything, and but it's it's just like a beater. You can throw it on your back. You don't have to bring a case if you don't want to. but it's super versatile because you can split the coils, and you could play country on it. You can play jazz on it. It's just got all the bells and whistles. So if I had to grab one guitar, it'd be something like that. That I could get away with as much as possible.
You know what's wild? There's so much like country and bluegrass going on in the city now. And I'm like, wow, you weren't even allowed to play that back like when we were kids, right? I mean, you never heard that.
Dude, there was like no country stations in New York for a while there until like YNY, I think, or no, I forget what it was. But whatever. I think it was like, it was a jazz station. It was a RVR 106.7, or maybe then it turned country overnight. That was the first time I heard country in New York, and it was. But you're right, though. It's kind of
it's great to see all this music out there now. It's very cool.
And it is. To me, it's like a song is a song. I mean, I've never really zeroed in on any single style of music. I mean, I love it all. I love metal. I mean, I was all those years in the 80s when I was teaching a lot. I was like, that was the years people were bringing in Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer and all these bands, and it's like super heavy but super like. It's just attitude guitar and I kind of, as soon as I hear something that's unique, I want to be able to do it. Like the first time I heard Van Halen, it was like everybody else. I was just like, what is that? And and I was everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and so I'm running after the bandwagon all the time, and but it's great. I always loved acoustic music. Obviously, so that bluegrass thing has been a joy, I think, for me. And
really cool.
Yeah. But I have to mention another guitar maker here in Jersey like that has been really kind to me. This guy, Tony DiDomenico, DiDomenico.com, or DiDomenicoGuitars.com, I think it is. But he's made me some guitars. I'm using one of them on stage with Dennis during Bravado and a couple songs, and also just amazing guitars, and he's been just a great friend to me, and does a lot of my repair work too. But he makes a lot of jazz arch tops, but he makes this solid body line that he came up with, and so I've been using that. So there's a guitar, and it's got like a Celtic symbol on the guitar, and it's LED, so it lights up and everything. So
that's cool.
I use it during Rubato and shit, because it's like technology thing, but it's just but so it's on stage is kind of maybe it's a beautiful looking guitar, but a little gimmicky with the light, but but it's a joy to play. Great guitar.
That's awesome, man. Very cool.
So that's another favorite guitar of mine. I had to, and so cheers to Tony DiDomenico for sure.
Do you have your dad's guitars?
I unfortunately, well, I have a Golden Eagle Heritage, which was my dad's last jazz guitar that he was playing with.
Sure.
He had a 55 Gibson L5, which was in my possession, which was like an amazing guitar. And this is like sad, but it got stolen from me and sold out.
Oh man.
So that was an unfortunate thing. It took me a long time to get over that, but
that's good. Well, it would take you a long time to get over that if it was just yours and not your dad. I mean, that's just like an invasive sort of shitty experience in every way.
It was a hard thing to digest, and I wound up finding it, but the guy who wound up bought it legitimately. He doesn't want to sell it back. Not that it was like they're worth a lot of money. It would be a hard sell, I think, for my wife at this point.
Yeah, sure.
And for me too, but it was pretty sad. But anyway, so I have just the one guitar of his, actually. Oh no, actually that 12-string Yamaha back there.
That was it. That was your dad's.
That was his. He recorded on a record with all these jazz greats, like this guy John Sebesky, who was like he was like an arranger and arranged for like Wes Montgomery and all these guys. Did like orchestral arrangements with like, you know, George Benson and all that. Well, he had my father on one of his records, and they did a cover of Birds of Fire by John McLaughlin, and they bought him that. The record company bought him that guitar for that one song.
That's really cool, man.
I don't think he ever played it again. It became mine. So,
wow.
You know,
What do you play that? Was there a call for a 12-string like 335-ish guitar?
Yeah, and you know, if you got a Tom Petty gig, boy, you want to bring that one.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
You know
okay.
what I mean? So like I've done like tribute shows we've done with people, and especially after his passing, we did a couple of nights of Tom Petty, and which I love that stuff. You asked me about styles of music, or what's my favorite style to play. I think, you know, being like you know, like almost like the parts player, you know, for me, it's like not really necessarily, you know, being so out in front and everything, but playing like colors, you know, and things like that, like volume swell stuff, and you know, acoustic instruments and mandolin and like, you know, that's my kind of my favorite role in a way, to like to kind of, you know, just to add a little bit of paint to an already great picture. You know, when you're when you're with a bunch of great people, it allows you to kind of think, and like you don't have to play all the time, you know. So you know, it's about, you know, painting a picture. So you know, so that's kind of my favorite thing to do, I think, as a musician, you know. And
I would imagine growing up as your dad's son that there's no ego with you, to like, you understand this is a great, you know, I understand how to support the song. You know, this is how I make the song better. I don't necessarily need to rip a guitar solo to do that.
Yeah. My father was really super humble for as good as he was. He was like, he studied his whole life, you know, and always felt like he was a student. So like, you know, and my parents were very humble people, and I owe them that for, you know, for that. But, but having somebody so good in your house like that, there's no way you were ever going to topple that standing tree. You know, I was definitely the fruit that fell from it, you know? So, so there was really not much room for ego in that, but you know, and I'm happy to say that, you know, like, you know, just about everybody I play with, you know, has that same thing. I mean, it's important. There's nothing worse than you know, listening to self accolades. I think, you know, it's just like, if you don't have to say anything, you know, it comes across, you know, if it's heartfelt, and nobody has to say anything. I love what like Hendrix said once, like in an interview. You probably heard this, I'm sure, you know, but I think it was maybe David Cavett. Dick Cavett, yeah. Dick Cavett,
yeah. I know exactly. Good, yeah.
And yeah, he said, you know, like people love you, man. Like, you know, what's it like when people love you? And he goes, it's like, it's distracting, you know. It's like, it's like, you know, people complimenting him all the time, and it's just like, you don't know what to, you know, it's like you don't know what to say. It's like, you know, you love it, and it's nice to be appreciated, but it's like, you know, but it's you know, I think it's you know, it's just great. They don't have to say they like my playing either.
Yeah,
as long as they're having a good time, you know. But so it's a, you know, a fortunate thing to be able to do this, you know, and there's always somebody that will teach you something, you know. And they don't have to be like above you, even in intellect. It's like about, you know, it's not even about that. It's just like this heartfelt thing that when you hear it for the first time, it's genuine and like you know. So it's I'll be a student my whole life, definitely. That's
well,
for
man,
sure.
Hey, school's never out for the pro, man. That's what I always say. You know, that's, you know, I think when I think if you are a little smarter, you realize how little you know.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
true.
and it's the guys that are like just idiots, and not just in music and anything, that think they're geniuses. And like the guys that like maybe have a little on the ball, like, oh my God, it's overwhelmed. You know, I know nothing, a dot in the fucking ocean of knowledge that I need to try to acquire it. So I think, and another thing, you mentioned something, a buddy when I was a kid, his dad was talking to us one time, and he made a comment, and I thought it was really true. He said, a rich guy doesn't need to tell you how rich he is. A smart guy doesn't need to tell you how smart he is. And it's the same thing with players. You know, the guy who's like, oh, I'm really good. You know, maybe not. You know, if you are, you don't need to run around saying it. You know, you either are or you're not. And it doesn't matter either way. But, you know, when you're running around saying it, you got to question.
Here's a few quotes I remember. Like, you know, I remember talking to some guy, and I won't mention names, but I'm like, well, what do you play? Everything. And you play everything. All right. But another guy was just like, hey, I jammed with these guys the other night, and they couldn't believe the licks I was pulling off, and it's like, it's an amazing, like, thing to come back at, and you're just like, wow, it's like extreme confidence, in a way, like that can go somewhere, but you still have to back it up,
Well, but the thing is, you can, that same guy could say, yeah, it was, I had a good night, but let me tell you, I learned a lot, or, it could have gone the other way.
Right.
Maybe he was playing with like a bunch of 12-year-olds. Who the hell knows? And they really were like, oh, wow, I can't believe your lips.
Yeah. Let's go there.
What, talk about happy. What makes you happy? Like, what's your definition of happiness?
I mean, to me, it's like family and my wife and my kids. I've been super fortunate. I mean, that's the joy of my life. My kids are the joy of my life, really. So, first and foremost, they're getting older, and it's breaking my heart that I'm going to have to send them off into this world. But they're so that first, and and the fact that I get to do what I love, and I have somebody who supports me. I mean, it's like I couldn't really ask for more, because like the rest of it's just life in general. So it's dotted with anxiety and
highs and lows,
highs and lows. So, but I've been fortunate to do what I love, and that's and so I feel good about where I'm at this point in my life.
Best childhood memory.
Oh my goodness, that's another tough one. A next door neighbor a moving van rolls in, and a next door neighbor comes in, and these three kids from down the Jersey Shore moved in next door to me, and changed my entire life. I'd be like really close friends, and socially it changed my world on a normally like less exciting street. So it was like, I'm still friends with them. They live in Colorado now, but that's those summers with those guys were just like amazing. And down the shore and
that's really
time
nice.
Down the Jersey Shore with my parents, and like
very
I'd
cool.
say that. Yeah.
What are you proudest of? Sorry, both musically and personally.
I mean, I'm proud that I've stuck with this and didn't let, my father's, that umbrella of like who he was, like really like kind of, cause it was difficult, like kind of having that, in that I've always felt like not second fiddle to him, in a way, but it was like an expectation if you came out and everybody like,
yeah.
It's Jimmy Leahey and his father is, Harry Leahy, and everybody's like, oh, and then I'm up there like clamming on like a 3-chord song, so that was some pressure, for me and stuff. But so getting through that, I think that, I'm proud of the fact that I was able to ignore that and still follow my dream. So, cause at times it was awkward, but
I could definitely understand that. And I give you credit for pushing through that, man, because I could imagine that would be hard.
Through the support of my, my friends as well. And, my father always wanted me to succeed. It's just that, I couldn't play with him. He was so good. I mean, it was just like, when it came time for me to solo, I would be just like, I didn't know I couldn't be myself around him because I was so like, self-conscious.
Sure. Yeah. I could totally get that.
So it took me a while to get over that. And I think that was, I'm proud of myself for that. Cause a lot of, people that or musicians that had successful musician and parents, like it's difficult, I think.
Yeah, man, I definitely give you credit for pushing through that.
Thanks.
Do you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Yeah, I'm really into art as well. Like and I'm into woodwork. I've done a lot of stuff here at my house, and I've like I said had that my 15 years kind of working in shops and wood shops and electrical and all that. I'm so I fool around with gadgets, and I do a lot of stuff around the house, and woodwork and art projects and things like that. So
cool,
that's, I guess, outside of that.
Very nice, man.
Yeah.
Best thing about living in the tri-state area?
Oh man, I think this is a really great place for a musician. I mean, there's a million places to play. If, I think I could play. I probably do more than, or close to like 250 gigs a year. I mean, I'm always playing.
Holy shit! Plus all your touring.
Yeah, that includes my touring. When you add
wow,
it up,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's probably close to that, I would say. So like there's always somewhere to play in this area. There's so many great musicians and inspiration, and great venues too, So I think I'm like an hour and change to New York City. I'm an hour and change to Philadelphia. I'm an hour and change to the Jersey Shore. I'm an hour and change to Rockland County. I mean, like, which has a kind of a cool music scene there as well. A lot of great people came out of Rockland County, New York. So I've met a lot of inspirational people, and I've had no shortage of gigs for all my years. So, and I assume I'm gonna even after the touring thing ends and stuff. I'll play locally, and I'll eventually like hit the geriatric circuit and stuff. But
and that's when you moved down here, man.
He is, right? In Florida. We'll play, I always say like I'm gonna learn like Grand Old Flag. I'll be just hey, come on, everybody! Like
you can hit up all the adult living facilities in Clearwater. That'll be your thing,
right? Hey, I'll still be, trying to do it, but I'll be like 7 years old trying to sing like Kansas songs and stuff. That'll be rough, man.
Yeah, but you could do 250 nights a year down here. That's the thing, and not repeat a single venue.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Or forget what I played last time I was there and stuff.
Doesn't matter. Right. Hey man, 3 more questions, and I really enjoy this, and thank you. Toughest decision you ever had to make, or hardest thing you ever had to do?
Ooh, man, I think quitting my day job. I was a benefits holder at that time, and I had kids. That was really like a scary time, for me.
Sure.
But we had been working so much, it wouldn't have been a really financial disaster, maybe, because my wife works. I love people. They go like, "Oh, you're a musician," and do you do it full time? I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a full time musician," and they're going like, "Wow," and I'm like, "Yeah, and my wife works." And, she has holds the benefits now, but I did then, so we had to lose our benefits.
You're a freaking
crazy
team. You do when you're a team, man. It doesn't matter who's doing what because you're both pitching in for the team. I think. So,
yeah,
man.
She's been my enabler all these years, man. And the rock to me and my boys, who she calls knuckle draggers. We're knuckle draggers now.
Most embarrassing or funniest thing that's ever happened to you on stage or in the studio?
Oh my goodness. I think, did I write this down? I'm trying to remember if I wrote this down, or something. I know, oh my goodness. Oh, I mean, other than, one of my first gigs with, in front of a large audience, it was with Glenn Burtnick at the time. And we were opening up for Southside Johnny at the Count Basie Theater, so it was my first time in front of like 2,000 people in a theater. And I was playing a Strat at the time, and I was so green under the gills. I had like my little Boss pedal board into some shitty amp. I don't even know. And
into some shitty amp. I love it.
Yeah. Man, I had like, it's been a rough road getting my gear together, but now, I've acquired some stuff over the years. But but anyway, so like I'm up there playing, and it's like, so my first time on stage, first song, and I go to play my first solo in front of 2,000 people, and I break a string.
Oh my God, that must have been so much stress.
And the guitar went super out of tune. And you think like somebody who gets to that point in his life would have like a spare guitar. I didn't have a spare guitar. I had to go over there and put a string on my guitar on the side of the stage. Such an idiot I was, man. That was pretty embarrassing.
Oh wow, that's stressful.
Oh, there's another one. This was a pretty good one. And this wasn't really a gig. It turned into a gig, but I was in Las Vegas with John Waite, and we were at the Radio Music Awards, and which was like, I don't know if you ever experienced that or heard about it, but you go to Vegas and there's like a big ballroom with like all these like 120 remote stations from all around the country. And like you just go from booth to booth, and it's a way that you get. So John was getting interviewed on all these.
Oh, okay. So you get to do promo and all these things.
Yeah, like all over the country in one room.
Very cool.
So it was kind like in a way to syndicate everything, I guess. But so we did the radio thing, and then we wind up the rest of the days off, and we're out and we're hanging out, and John and I, we had a lot of fun together, and we tended to hit the sauce, so we, like, as the day went on, we're getting pretty drunk, and then we wind up meeting somebody. We wound up getting invited to Sylvester Stallone's party that he had in somewhere, and we wound up there, and we're drinking, and it's kind of all these people like Jewel and all these, like, wild people there. We got invited to like Elton John's like Red Piano show, and we're drinking at that, and it's just like this whole day of fun and drinking. Then we meet Danny Bonaducci, Danny Bonaducci and Mario Lopez from, like, what is it, that show, whatever that show, whatever that show is. They're having a rooftop party on it was then the Aladdin, so they invited us to come to the rooftop party. So, like, so we went there, we're hanging out at Danny Bonaducci's party, and then they asked us to go up, and they asked John to go up and play. So, like, we were flagged, man. We were, like, totally drunk by then, and we got up in front of all these people, and I couldn't tune the guitar. I couldn't, like, function. I've been playing all these years, and he couldn't say. He was, like, slurring words and backing up, and we went up there and just completely train wrecked, and it was just so hilarious. And
that's funny.
Anyway, that was kind of embarrassing too.
Yeah, but hey, you weren't planning. It's not like you were planning on playing a gig. It's not like you came to work hammered. I mean, you're on vacation basically.
That's right. Nevertheless, it was embarrassing.
Yeah. Oh,
but we laughed about it big time now. I mean,
totally excusable, man. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I mean, it was Danny Bonaducci and Mario Lopez. I mean, nothing against those guys, but I mean, it wasn't like, it was Sting and Elton John or anything like that.
He's one of my favorite bass players, Danny Bonaducci.
Hello, world. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much has changed been deliberate, and how much is just a part of aging?
I think, you could probably relate to this in your advancing age.
In my advancing age.
No, you just feel a little more comfortable with yourself. I think I've, like, through my 20s and 30s, and, like, I've had a lot of trials, like raising kids, and, like, a lot of worries, and outside of just playing music, and then just trying to earn a living, and not sure how it's going to go for all those years. Sure. I think I found in my, like, 40s and definitely in my 50s, I'm just a little more relaxed about everything, and so it's been, so I've calmed down a little bit. I still have, like, a big work ethic. I'm always working. I sleep like 3 to 6 hours a day tops, man.
Really, man? How do you function? That's the only thing that I really can't do anymore, man. I'm a dick if I sleep like 4 hours, man. Now, sometimes I can't sleep.
Look at these bags, bro.
Yeah. Do you have that where once in a while, like, it's the worst? Like, you wake up and it's pitch black, and you say, man, it's probably like 5 a.m. I know it's a couple hours early or an hour early, whatever, but I feel great. And then you look at the clock, it's like 1:15. That fucking sucks, because then, like, oh my god, then I'm like, the whole next day is shot. It's like, that happens once in a while.
I always catch up. I'll catch up on sleep, but it's like, I just don't want to miss anything, man. I just so, like, I'm up every morning with my boys, or I was really, until this is the first year since 1998 that I don't have to bring a kid to a bus, because my wife works, and or bring a kid to school. He said, because my 17-year-old has his own car now. So sure. So, so it's like suddenly it's another change is coming, with our kids, embarking in adulthood, and and it's going to be my wife and I again staring at each other without that distraction. So let's hope we still like each other, because we'll be we're just going to be looking at each other now,
Well, dude, let me tell you, that is very real shit. Because my kids are older; they're 28, 26, and I said my daughter's 18. But, like, about 3 or 4, and my boys have been out of the house, the old ones, for several years. And, like, 3 or 4 years ago, we were sitting down on a Sunday, and it was just the two of us. And I don't know, my daughter was probably at a friend's house, and I said, man, thank God we get along, because I could see how people are breaking up now, because it's just me. There's nothing here. Our responsibilities are literally done. I mean, there's nothing.
You have that common focus for a while, and then it's all of a sudden it's gone, and they're, so yeah. So it's, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very lucky. We get along great. We've worked really hard to do that, but not to get along, but what's that?
Right.
We've
How long have you been
we've been together 26 years. So right behind you. Yeah. And like we haven't worked hard to get along. We've worked hard to get through shit. It's like, it's important to us, but like, I genuinely like her. I don't know how she genuinely likes me, but she does somehow. But,
were you gone a lot growing like in your life? Were you busy working? And I think the absence thing really is something to that. And that when we finally do get together, it's like we genuinely miss each other, So like, and she's a hard worker too. And like, and I've always been on the opposite end schedule of that, being a musician,
Sure.
So when we do find time, I mean, we just, in April, went to Paris for our 25th anniversary. We're married 28 years. It took us 3 years to plan
Awesome.
to get to it. But
that's great.
And we do genuinely love each other. And it's with all its imperfections, But,
totally. I'm the same. Yeah, we I get along real good. I don't know how this happened. It's like the miracle of my life. Honestly, it's like the miracle of my entire life. I don't know how, and I'm just grateful for it. But your kids, it's weird when I don't know how you felt, but one of the things, raising kids to me, when I stopped having to do that, man, I took that as such a serious responsibility. It was like a 1 million pound weight lifted off. I mean, now you have other worries and they still come to you for help, but
that's a big one.
It was just like, I really felt like I got a lot of my life back, and nothing against them. I just was like really serious about that. And, we didn't have any family growing up. So it was just us. So it was like 24/7 on all the time for all those years. So
there's no book to it, So like when you're raising your kids, you're doing the best you can. But but now like you see them as like adults and we're near adults, and like you realize that they're good to the people. They're good to their girl. I have 2 boys, but they're good to their girlfriends, and like it's the things that like you're just like this, the basics. Like they're decent people. They can carry on a conversation. And they're hard and they're energetic, and so it's those. It definitely becomes a little easier to swallow when they're going to survive without you. So
well, what's also cool is you're like. Your older one really soon, and if it hasn't happened yet, he'll come to you and say, "Hey, thank you." You get the first return on your investment in like 25. No, they'll actually say, "Hey, I really appreciate some of the shit you did for me," or like I'll never forget. My son came to me he's 28, probably 4 or 5 years ago. His dad, I got to tell you, I always hated that everything you told me when I was younger came out right. Whatever you said was right, and I hated that, and I hated you for that. He goes, and I'm really grateful for it now. He goes, I wish I would have listened more, but I'm really grateful that you at least like took the time and effort. And that was like really like, because you don't get that. Kids need the attaboy from us, but we need it from them. But you don't get it till later.
That's right.
You don't need. So now I get it from both of mine, and I'm actually starting to get it from my daughter, which is really weird. So.
They're skeptics for a long time.
yeah, totally. They're like, they're not believers, man. I tell you what, first I want to thank Jason Laughlin for, connecting us. And I want to tell you what Jason said. You talked so nice about him. I can't tell you that he praised you up and down. He said, listen, let me tell you, this is the kind of guy that he's the most genuine, sincere person. He's the kind of guy you could let him watch your house. You could trust him with absolutely anything. He's a genuine, sweet guy, and you fucking certainly are, man. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let me tell people where to find you. First of all, you've done a bunch of records. I just want to go over some of this with Alice Leon. And where can people find those records? The usual places, or?
Yeah, usual places. I guess CD Baby or whatever. I'm not even sure. I'm like I got my father's business sense, I think. But, there's stuff out there. I'm on some Bob Berger records as well. And have some writing on his records and. Trying to think. I'm on Dennis's record 100 years from now. I'm on, and so you can find bits and pieces of me, on my playing on some records here and there. Yeah,
awesome.
John Waite record, Universal Soldier. I think it's that record. come on as well. So, yeah.
And also check out Jimmy on tour with Dennis DeYoung, and tell him you heard the interview and you enjoyed listening to him. Also, and pay close attention here if you're a guitar player, which is like 99% of everybody listening. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree here, and Jimmy gives lessons. So if you are interested in taking lessons, I think he does them out of his home in Jersey, but he's also done Skype lessons from time to time. Hit him up. Is there a contact form on your website?
It's on my website. Yeah. The last page of my website. So my email's there. You can email me, or I think, there's contact information on there.
Okay. So. Great. So if you want to get some lessons from Jimmy, hit him up through his website. Also, he is touring locally in Jersey with the Gray Man Group, which is basically the Jimmy Leahey Trio. It's good that I'm not in your band, because I don't know, you'd have to call it a different name. The bald gray man.
Gray facial hair works.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I've noticed that if I don't shave for a few days, it's gray now. I'm just fucking falling apart here. And that's it, man. Anything else people could connect with you?
That's about it, man. Craig, you're like an awesome, interviewer, and it's been very casual, and we're all, hey, everybody loves guitar, man. Like, we're all in this, man. Like, and I think that's the passion of, for the arts that keeps this world spinning, like, and it makes it bearable, because like this world would be like dismal without the entertainment industry. That's for sure, man.
I agree with you, man. Thank you very much for everything, Jimmy. Awesome talking to you. Everybody, thank you for listening. Please check out Jimmy Leahey online. Let me just give you his last name again, because it's spelled Leahy, Leahey, and go to jimmyleahey.com and just support Jimmy and all the stuff he's doing, and definitely go out and see him on tour with Dennis DeYoung. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We certainly appreciate your support and help. And thanks again to Jimmy Leahey for spending time with us. I definitely appreciate it. And go to the homepage of everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list. You'll get advance notice of guests that are coming on the show, and you can send in some questions, have the opportunity to ask them some questions of your own. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.